Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at the world of polypharmacology. It's fascinating. It's where one drug can unlock multiple, therapeutic doors. We're going to be going beyond that one drug, one target model that we're all used to and exploring how a single medication can engage multiple disease pathways all at once.
It really is kind of like having a master key instead of needing a whole ring of individual keys.
Mhm.
We're really talking about drugs that are designed specifically and intentionally to interact with multiple targets. We're not just kind of like, oh, hey, look, we stumbled on this lucky
Yeah.
side effect.
Yeah.
It's very much intentional.
Super cool. Well, we've got 5 key insights to unlock for you today. So we're going to start with the core concept of polypharmacology itself. And then from there, we'll kind of delve into multi-target drugs.
Right.
These are the drugs that can actually tackle those complex disorders with just one molecule.
Yeah. And then we're going to unlock the secret of what we call synergistic effects. We'll look at how hitting multiple targets can actually enhance outcomes when it comes to therapy.
Then we're going to examine how this holistic approach can help reduce drug resistance, which is a huge concern with those traditional treatments.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, we're going to kind of finish up by exploring how scientists are using something called rational design, which is guided by what we call multi-pathway insights to kind of drive the future of drug development.
Okay. So basically, imagine a drug that acts like that master key, unlocking therapeutic potential in ways we never thought possible.
Yeah.
That's the power of polypharmacology. So let's dive in. To start, can you unpack that core concept of polypharmacology for us a little bit?
So polypharmacology really centers on designing these drugs that are interacting with multiple targets in a very precise way. So instead of just kind of focusing on one specific protein or one pathway, these drugs are designed to engage with a whole network of targets that are involved in a particular disease.
Okay, so instead of a single target drug that might only address one aspect of a complex illness, a multi-target drug could actually potentially tackle multiple pathways simultaneously.
That's the idea, yeah. Think of it kind of like a universal remote control. You have one device, and it can control your TV, your sound system, and even your lights, instead of needing a separate remote for each one.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the picture now. That universal remote analogy definitely helps. But how does a single molecule actually manage to interact with multiple targets at the same time? It's almost like it's got a split personality or something.
Well, think of a single molecule as having multiple hands, so to speak, or binding sites. Each of those sites is capable of interacting with a different protein, a different target protein, or a different pathway in the body, and each one can trigger a very specific effect. It's all about strategic design, matching those binding sites to the targets that are relevant for a particular disease.
So it's like a master key that's been designed to fit multiple different locks.
Exactly.
This multi-target approach seems like it'd be especially promising for those complex disorders that involve a whole web of interconnected factors, right?
Exactly. Think of chronic illnesses like cancer, diabetes, or even heart disease. They often have multiple different underlying causes. Trying to tackle those with a single target drug is like trying to solve a puzzle with only one piece.
But a multi-target drug could potentially address several of those puzzle pieces at once.
Precisely. So by hitting multiple targets that are involved in the disease process, we might be able to achieve a much more comprehensive and effective therapeutic outcome. And that's what it's all about, right? Addressing those root causes of an illness, not just kind of managing the symptoms on the surface.
This is really cool. So we've got this one amazing molecule interacting with multiple targets.
Yeah.
But here's where I think it gets really interesting, the idea of synergistic effects. Can you explain what that means in the context of polypharmacology?
Absolutely. Synergy is basically when you have this combined effect of multiple actions that ends up being greater than the sum of their individual parts. So it's not just about hitting those multiple targets, it's about hitting them in a way that amplifies those therapeutic benefits.
Okay, so it's not just like 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
It's more than 1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly. Or even more, you could have one target, for instance, that reduces inflammation while another one promotes cell repair. And together they create this healing effect that's much more potent than either one of those actions alone.
Okay, so it's like a well-coordinated dance with each drug working in perfect harmony to enhance that overall outcome. Can you give us a real-world example of this synergy in action?
Sure. Think about how different herbs, for example, in a traditional remedy, might work together to create a much more potent healing effect. You might have one herb that boosts the immune system, while another one soothes inflammation, and then a third one might have some antibacterial properties.
Right. The combination ends up being greater than the sum of its parts. So we've discussed how polypharmacology could be more effective for these complex diseases and how synergistic effects could really enhance outcomes. But there's another huge potential benefit that I'm particularly interested in, this idea of reduced resistance. How might polypharmacology kind of change the game when it comes to drug resistance?
That's a really crucial point. Drug resistance is a major concern with those traditional treatments, especially for infectious diseases or cancer. By hitting multiple targets simultaneously, polypharmacology makes it much harder for those pathogens or cancer cells to develop resistance. It's like using a combination of strategies when you're attacking a fortress. It's much harder for the enemy to defend against those multiple lines of attack.
Right, you're cutting off all the escape routes for the disease, so it's much harder for it to adapt and survive.
Exactly. It's about staying one step ahead.
This kind of leads us to another key point, the idea of rational design in drug development. So we're not just hoping for lucky accidents anymore, right?
Right. Scientists are now intentionally designing these polypharmacology drugs, and they're using this thing called rational design. It's actually a really fascinating shift in thinking. By understanding those complex networks that are involved in a particular disease, researchers can strategically design drugs to interact with those networks in very specific ways.
Okay, so instead of just looking for a molecule that binds to a single target, they're actually searching for molecules that can influence multiple targets simultaneously.
Precisely. And this approach is guided by what we call multi-pathway insights, which is basically a deep understanding of that intricate web of interactions that drive a disease. So we're not just looking for what works, we're looking for why it works. And that really opens up a lot of possibilities for even more effective treatments in the future.
This is all so mind-blowing. We've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
We went from that core concept of polypharmacology to multi-target drugs, synergistic effects, reduced resistance, and rational design. But before we move on, I want to pause and just ask you, what's the one thing that really stands out to you about polypharmacology so far?
I think what's most fascinating to me is that polypharmacology is more than just a new type of drug. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about treating diseases in the first place. It's about embracing that complexity and recognizing that most diseases don't have a single cause or a single solution.
Right. It's about seeing the bigger picture and understanding how everything's interconnected.
Exactly. And that's what makes polypharmacology so exciting and potentially revolutionary. It's about moving beyond the limitations of that one drug, one target model and embracing a much more holistic and personalized approach to medicine.
That's a great way to sum it up.
Mm.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a major paradigm shift in how we approach treating diseases, honestly. Now that we've established the fundamentals, can we delve into some specific examples of polypharmacology in action? I'm curious to see how this concept is being applied in real-world drug development.
Absolutely. Let's start with a classic example that really illustrates the power of nature to inspire drug design, and that is lovastatin.
Okay, lovastatin. Tell us more.
So lovastatin is actually a cholesterol-lowering medication that was originally derived from a fungus.
Oh,
And it works by inhibiting a very specific enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which plays a really key role in the production of cholesterol.
so it's a natural compound that's been harnessed for therapeutic use. I love how nature often provides us with these incredible blueprints for drug discovery.
It really is quite remarkable, and lovastatin's success has actually led to the development of a whole class of cholesterol-lowering drugs that are called statins, which are some of the most widely prescribed medications worldwide.
Oh, that's huge. That's a huge impact on global health. It's amazing to think that a humble fungus could provide the key to controlling cholesterol, a major risk factor for heart disease.
Yeah, and it highlights how important it is to explore the natural world for new drug leads. There's still so much that we can learn from nature's vast chemical diversity.
Okay, so lovastatin was a game changer for cholesterol management. What other examples kind of showcase the power of polypharmacology?
Let's move on to a medication that's a household name for many people, Metformin.
Oh, yeah, metformin. That's the drug that's commonly used to treat the type 2 diabetes.
Oh.
I'm eager to learn how that kind of ties into polypharmacology.
Exactly. Metformin's a really fascinating example because while it's been used for decades, we're still unraveling the full complexity of its actions. So it doesn't simply lower blood sugar. It seems to work on multiple fronts to improve overall metabolic health.
Okay, so it's not just treating the symptoms, but addressing that underlying metabolic dysfunction. But that sounds very much in line with the principles of polypharmacology.
Precisely. One of its primary actions is actually improving what we call insulin sensitivity, meaning the body's cells become much more responsive to insulin, which is the hormone that regulates blood sugar.
So it's helping the body use insulin more effectively.
Yeah.
That's a crucial step in managing type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. But metformin's benefits go beyond just that insulin sensitivity. It also seems to reduce glucose production in the liver, slow down the absorption of glucose from the intestines, and even enhance the body's ability to use glucose for energy.
Wow. So that's like a multi-pronged attack on high blood sugar. No
Yeah.
wonder it's a cornerstone of diabetes treatment.
It really is. It's a prime example of how a polypharmacological approach can be used to tackle a complex metabolic disorder like type 2 diabetes. And what's especially interesting is that metformin is actually derived from a plant called French lilac, which has been used for medicinal purposes for centuries.
Ah, so it's another example of how traditional medicine can inspire modern drug discovery.
Exactly. It's a reminder that ancient wisdom can sometimes hold valuable clues for developing new therapies.
That's really cool. Metformin's story really highlights the power of exploring both those natural and synthetic sources for potential polypharmacological drugs. Are there any other compelling examples that come to mind?
Absolutely. Let's shift our focus to a drug with a remarkable history, ivermectin.
Okay, ivermectin.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. What's so special about this drug?
So ivermectin has a really fascinating story. It was originally developed as an antiparasitic drug for animals, and it's proven remarkably effective against a wide range of parasites. What's truly incredible is that it's also incredibly effective against parasites that cause debilitating diseases in humans, like river blindness and lymphatic filariasis.
It's amazing how a drug that was initially intended for animals has had such a profound impact on human health.
It really is, and it speaks volumes about the serendipitous nature of scientific discovery, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And ivermectin's success actually earned its developers the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine back in 2015, highlighting how innovation can really come from the most unexpected sources.
That's incredible. So how does ivermectin work its magic against those parasites?
So its primary mechanism involves interfering with the nervous system of the parasites. It basically leads to their paralysis and death. It does this by binding to specific ion channels, which disrupts the flow of ions across cell membranes.
So it's like shutting down the parasite's control center, preventing it from functioning properly.
Exactly. And this targeted approach is what makes it so effective against a wide range of those parasites while having minimal toxicity to humans.
It's a testament to the adaptability and ingenuity of the scientific community. We're always looking for ways to repurpose those existing drugs and discover new applications for those known compounds. It's like those scientists had a hunch and they took a chance and it paid off in a big way, benefiting countless lives worldwide. But let's move on to another example that showcases the power of polypharmacology, reserpine.
Ah, reserpine. Another fascinating story that bridges traditional medicine with modern drug discovery. It's actually derived from the Rauwolfia serpentina plant, which has been used in India for centuries to treat various ailments, from anxiety and insomnia to even snake bites.
Wow. A true multitasker from the natural world.
Yeah.
So how did reserpine transition from traditional medicine to mainstream use?
So in the mid-20th century, scientists started investigating its properties, and they discovered its remarkable ability to lower blood pressure. This led to its adoption as an antihypertensive drug in the 1950s, marking a significant advance in managing this really common and potentially life-threatening condition.
It's amazing to think that a plant extract that's been used in traditional medicine for centuries could hold the key to controlling blood pressure, a major risk factor for heart disease and stroke.
It really underscores how important it is to respect and learn from those traditional knowledge systems.
Absolutely. So how does reserpine actually work on a molecular level to lower blood pressure?
So its primary mechanism actually involves depleting the body's stores of norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in regulating blood pressure. It basically interferes with norepinephrine storage in nerve endings, effectively reducing its availability to constrict blood vessels.
So it's like cutting off the signal that tells blood vessels to tighten up. leading to a more relaxed state and lower blood pressure.
Precisely. But it's important to note that reserpine's effects on norepinephrine can also have other consequences, including sedation, depression, and even Parkinsonian-like symptoms.
So it's a reminder that even drugs that are inspired by natural sources can have some unintended consequences.
Absolutely, and that's why careful study of any drug's pharmacology is so important to understand its full spectrum of effects.
Reserpine's journey from a traditional remedy to modern medicine is truly fascinating. It speaks volumes about the interconnectedness of science and history. But let's explore one more example before moving on, Huperzine A.
Okay, so huperzine A offers a glimpse into the realm of cognitive enhancement. It's a compound derived from a type of club moss, and it's actually been used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries to treat various ailments, including memory disorders.
Wow, so it's like a brain booster from nature.
Yeah, you could say that.
How did it make its way into modern research as a potential cognitive enhancer?
Well, scientists, intrigued by its traditional use, began investigating its properties and discovered its ability to actually improve memory and learning in animal models. This sparked a lot of interest in its potential for treating age-related cognitive decline and even Alzheimer's disease.
It's amazing to think that a compound that's extracted from a humble moss could hold the key to sharpening our minds.
It highlights the power of those natural products as a source of inspiration for drug development.
So how does Huperzine A actually work on a molecular level to improve memory?
So it primarily inhibits an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, which is responsible for breaking down acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that's crucial for memory and learning. So by blocking this breakdown, huperzine A effectively increases acetylcholine levels in the brain.
So it's like protecting those crucial memory messengers, allowing them to do their job more effectively.
Exactly. And this has shown some promising results in clinical trials, demonstrating improvements in memory and cognitive performance in individuals with mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease.
That's incredible. That's incredibly encouraging. But like with any potential therapy, I'm sure there are still things to learn about its long-term effects and safety.
Oh, absolutely. More research is definitely needed to fully understand its long-term implications.
Huperzine A's story is a fascinating reminder that nature holds a wealth of potential solutions for human health challenges. But let's shift gears now and kind of explore how technology is being used to design and develop these new polypharmacological therapies.
Yeah, that's a great transition. One of the most transformative advancements in recent years has been the application of artificial intelligence, or AI, in drug discovery.
AI. That sounds incredibly futuristic. How is AI being used in the context of polypharmacology?
So AI algorithms can analyze vast data sets, and they can identify promising drug candidates and even predict their potential. And this is particularly valuable in polypharmacology, where the complexity of those drug-target interactions can be really overwhelming for human researchers.
So it's like having a supercomputer as your research assistant.
Exactly. And AI algorithms can actually be trained to identify molecules that are likely to interact with multiple targets. And they can even design new molecules with very specific polypharmacological properties.
That's incredible. It's like having a virtual chemist, capable of designing drugs with unprecedented precision and efficiency.
That's a great way to put it. And AI-powered drug discovery platforms are already making a real impact. They're shortening the time it takes to bring new therapies to market.
This is mind-blowing. I feel like we're on the verge of a new era in drug development, where technology is helping us unlock the full potential of polypharmacology.
Yeah, it really is a transformative era in medicine, and AI is just one of many technological advancements that are revolutionizing how we discover and develop those new therapies.
Okay, so AI is a major player in the field. What are some of the other technological tools and techniques that are transforming drug discovery?
Another really powerful technology is what we call high-throughput screening, or HTS. And this allows researchers to test thousands, even millions of compounds against a specific target in a very short time.
It's like casting a wide net, looking for that needle in a haystack, that one special molecule that fits the bill.
Exactly. HTS is especially useful in the early stages of drug discovery when you're trying to identify those promising lead compounds from a vast library of potential candidates.
So it's like a sifting process. You weed out the duds and highlight the potential stars. What happens once a promising lead compound is identified?
Well, then the real work begins. Researchers use a variety of techniques to optimize that compound. They're basically fine-tuning its structure and properties to enhance its efficacy, its safety, and what we call its drug-like characteristics.
Okay, so it's like taking a rough gem and polishing it into a brilliant masterpiece.
That's a great analogy. And this optimization process often involves a combination of chemistry, biology, and computer modeling. It's really a collaborative effort with scientists from different disciplines working together to create the best possible drug candidate.
It's inspiring. This level of collaboration and meticulous design, it's a testament to human ingenuity and dedication in the pursuit of improving human health.
Absolutely. Drug discovery is a complex and challenging endeavor, but it's also incredibly rewarding. There's really nothing quite like the feeling of discovering a new molecule that has the potential to alleviate suffering and improve lives.
Yeah, I can only imagine the excitement and satisfaction that comes with such a breakthrough.
Yeah.
But let's delve into a specific example of how technology is being used to design these new polypharmacological therapies, computer modeling.
Computer modeling. It's an essential tool in modern drug discovery. It allows scientists to virtually screen and optimize those drug candidates before they even set foot in a lab.
Okay, so it's like a virtual laboratory where scientists can test and refine their ideas before they put them into practice.
Precisely. It relies on a combination of data and algorithms. So scientists input information about the drug molecule, the target protein, and any known interactions. And algorithms then predict how the drug will bind to that target and the resulting effects.
It's like a virtual docking experiment where the computer's actually simulating that interaction between the drug and its target.
That's a great description. And these simulations actually provide valuable insights into a drug's potential efficacy, its selectivity, and even its potential toxicity.
So it's like a risk assessment tool, allowing scientists to identify and address any potential problems early on in the process.
Exactly. And the more we understand about a drug's potential interactions, the better equipped we are to manage any potential risks.
But how does computer modeling specifically benefit the design of these polypharmacological therapies?
Well, in polypharmacology, you're dealing with multiple interactions, right?
Right.
Computer modeling helps predict how a drug will actually interact with multiple targets. Will those interactions be synergistic or antagonistic? And what's the overall effect on the biological system going to be?
Okay, so it's like having a multidimensional view of the drug's actions rather than just a single target focus.
Exactly. And it's becoming increasingly sophisticated, with new algorithms and software platforms constantly emerging.
That's awesome. It's incredible how technology is transforming the way we approach drug discovery. It feels like we're entering a new frontier of medical innovation where the impossible is becoming possible. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on another exciting aspect of polypharmacology, the potential for personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine. It's kind of the holy grail of healthcare tailoring treatments to each individual's unique genetic makeup, their lifestyle, and even their environmental factors. And polypharmacology holds immense promise for actually realizing this vision.
Okay, that's a future I'm very excited about.
Mhm.
So how does polypharmacology align with the concept of personalized medicine?
Well, polypharmacology acknowledges that diseases are complex and they often involve multiple pathways. So
Yeah.
there's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right, so it's about recognizing that we're all unique individuals with unique biological blueprints and health needs.
Precisely. And polypharmacology allows us to personalize those treatments by targeting the specific pathways that are dysregulated in an individual's disease.
Okay, so how do we actually determine which pathways to target for each person?
Well, that's where personalized medicine comes in.
Okay,
We can analyze an individual's genetic information, their biomarkers, and their clinical history to understand their disease profile and identify the pathways that are driving their condition.
it's like creating a personalized roadmap for treatment, guiding us to the most effective and precise interventions for that individual.
Exactly. And polypharmacology gives us the tools to actually follow that roadmap, allowing us to design therapies that target those multiple pathways simultaneously and tailor the treatment to the individual's specific needs.
That's an incredibly exciting prospect, honestly, with the potential to revolutionize healthcare as we know it. It's like taking the guesswork out of medicine and making it truly individualized.
It's definitely a vision worth striving for. Of course, implementing personalized polypharmacology on a large scale will require significant advancements in diagnostics, data analysis, and drug development. But the potential benefits are so significant that scientists and clinicians are working tirelessly to overcome these challenges.
It's a testament to our collective commitment to improving human health and well-being.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think that personalized polypharmacology could become a reality, where treatments are tailored to each individual, maximizing effectiveness while minimizing risks.
It's a future that we're all striving towards.
Yeah, this has been an incredible journey so far. We've explored those core concepts of polypharmacology, delved into some specific examples of drugs, and even peeked behind the curtain to see how technology is revolutionizing drug discovery.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
And we've also touched upon that exciting realm of personalized medicine, but there's much more to uncover.
Absolutely. In the next part, we'll dive even deeper into those specific applications of polypharmacology, and we'll examine how it's being used to develop those new treatments for a wide range of diseases.
Stay tuned because the exploration continues. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into this fascinating world of polypharmacology.
We've covered a lot of ground so far, from those basic principles to inspiring, real-world examples.
And today, we're going to delve even deeper into those specific applications. We're going to explore how polypharmacology is actually tackling various diseases.
Okay, perfect. I'm eager to hear more about how this approach is revolutionizing treatment strategies. Where should we start?
Well, let's begin with a battleground where polypharmacology is really proving to be a game changer, and that's infectious diseases.
Yes. The constant threat of drug resistance. It makes this an area that's ripe for innovation.
You got it. So, traditional antibiotics often target a single mechanism in bacteria, which makes it really easy for them to evolve resistance. It's like trying to stop a flood by plugging one tiny hole in a dam.
A futile effort, right. You need a more comprehensive approach.
Exactly. And that's what polypharmacology offers. By hitting multiple bacterial targets simultaneously, it makes it much harder for them to actually develop that resistance.
Okay, so it's like reinforcing the entire dam, not just patching one spot.
Precisely. And we're seeing some promising candidates in development. Drugs that are targeting both the bacterial cell wall and the DNA replication machinery, for instance. Others are combining existing antibiotics that act on different pathways, creating that synergistic effect that we talked about earlier.
So it's about outsmarting those bacteria by attacking them on multiple fronts.
That's the idea. And it offers real hope in combating the growing threat of antibiotic resistance and preserving the effectiveness of these life-saving drugs.
Yeah, this is research that's super crucial, especially with the rise of multi-drug resistant bacteria. It's reassuring to know that scientists are exploring these innovative solutions. What other areas are benefiting from polypharmacology?
Another area where it's showing great promise is in the treatment of autoimmune diseases.
Oh, yeah. Autoimmune diseases are incredibly challenging because the immune system's essentially attacking the body itself.
Exactly. So conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and multiple sclerosis can be debilitating. And traditional treatments often have limited efficacy and come with some pretty significant side effects. It's like trying to calm a storm by simply blowing wind in the opposite direction.
You might create a temporary lull, but the storm's still brewing.
That's a great analogy. So polypharmacology takes a more nuanced approach. It's about targeting multiple pathways that are involved in that immune response, modulating it in a much more precise and balanced way.
Okay, so instead of just suppressing the entire immune system, we can selectively target those specific pathways that are causing that autoimmune attack.
Precisely. And this targeted approach aims to improve the efficacy while also minimizing those unwanted side effects. Researchers are actually developing drugs that target both the inflammatory pathways and the signaling pathways that are driving the autoimmune response.
So it's like calming the storm by gently guiding it in a different direction, rather than trying to fight it head on.
Exactly. And these drugs are showing some really promising results in clinical trials, offering hope for more effective and safer treatments for these autoimmune diseases.
That's really encouraging news for people who are struggling with these conditions. It seems like polypharmacology is opening up new avenues for treating diseases that were once considered very difficult to manage. What other frontiers are being explored with this approach?
Well, let's shift our focus now to metabolic disorders, another area where polypharmacology holds significant potential.
Metabolic disorders like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. They're all very complex and often involve a combination of genetic, environmental, and even lifestyle factors.
Exactly. Traditional single-target drugs often address just one aspect of these disorders, but the underlying problem might persist.
It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by just tightening one loose bolt.
Yeah.
You might slow down the leak, but the problem's eventually going to resurface.
That's a great analogy. So polypharmacology takes a more holistic approach, targeting multiple pathways that are involved in metabolism.
Okay, so instead of just focusing on lowering blood sugar or cholesterol,
Yeah.
we can actually address the underlying metabolic dysfunction that's driving those problems.
Precisely. And this much more comprehensive strategy aims to not only treat those symptoms, but also prevent or even reverse the progression of these metabolic disorders.
It's like fixing the entire plumbing system instead of just patching up those individual leaks.
Mm.
Are there any specific examples of this in action?
Sure. So researchers are developing drugs that target both insulin resistance and inflammation, for example. Those are two really key factors in type 2 diabetes. It's like tackling the disease from two different angles, increasing the chances of success.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Seems like polypharmacology is really changing how we approach these complex diseases,
Uh-huh.
moving away from those isolated treatments to more interconnected strategies.
It really is a paradigm shift that recognizes that intricate web of interactions within our bodies. Another really fascinating area where this is being applied is in targeting the gut microbiome.
Oh yeah, the gut microbiome, that incredible ecosystem of microbes living within our digestive system. It's amazing to think about the influence that it has on our overall health.
It's like a hidden organ, constantly interacting with our bodies. And imbalances in that gut microbiome can actually contribute to a wide range of diseases, from inflammatory bowel disease and obesity to even neurodegenerative disorders.
Oh, wow. So if we can modulate the gut microbiome, could we potentially treat or prevent those diseases?
That's the exciting prospect. Polypharmacology offers a way to target multiple aspects of that gut microbiome, promoting those beneficial bacteria while suppressing those harmful ones.
It's like tending to a garden, ensuring a healthy balance of different plants for a thriving ecosystem.
Exactly. And researchers are exploring various approaches to do this, including combining prebiotics, which actually nourish those beneficial bacteria, with probiotics, which introduce live beneficial bacteria into the gut.
So it's like providing both the fertilizer and the seeds for a healthy gut microbiome.
Exactly. And these combination therapies are showing some really promising results in clinical trials, offering hope for restoring that gut microbiome balance and improving overall health.
This research is truly fascinating. It opens up a whole new dimension of understanding health and disease. What other exciting frontiers are on the horizon for polypharmacology?
Well, one area that's generating a lot of buzz is the development of drugs that actually target aging.
Aging. Is it really possible to develop drugs that could slow down or even reverse the aging process?
Well, while it's still early days, the evidence is suggesting that certain pathways actually play a key role in aging. And if we can target those pathways, we might be able to extend both lifespan and health span.
So it's like finding the fountain of youth, but at a molecular level.
Yeah, you could say that. And polypharmacology offers a way to target multiple aging pathways simultaneously, potentially having a much more profound impact than targeting just a single pathway.
So it's like hitting multiple pause buttons on that aging process.
Exactly.
But this research is incredibly exciting.
Uh-huh.
But I imagine it also comes with its own set of complexities and challenges, right?
You're absolutely right. Polypharmacology, while very promising, isn't without its potential risks and challenges, and we need to acknowledge and address those as we continue to explore and develop new therapies.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It's important to approach any groundbreaking approach with a balanced perspective. What are some of the key risks and challenges associated with polypharmacology?
Well, one significant challenge is predicting and managing the potential for what we call off-target effects. So when a drug interacts with multiple targets, there's always a risk that it could trigger some unintended consequences by binding to proteins or pathways that it wasn't designed to interact with.
Okay, so it's like trying to fix a broken clock by tinkering with multiple gears. You might fix the time, but you could also accidentally disrupt other functions.
That's a great analogy, and these off-target effects can lead to adverse reactions or even negate the intended therapeutic benefits.
So how can scientists mitigate these risks?
Well, thorough screening of drug candidates is really essential, and this involves testing them in vitro, using cell cultures and purified proteins, and in silico using computer modeling to predict those drug-target interactions.
Okay, so it's a combination of laboratory testing and virtual simulations to try to identify any potential problems early on in the development process.
Exactly. And the more we understand about a drug's potential interactions, the better equipped we are to manage those potential risks. Another significant challenge is achieving the right balance between what we call potency and selectivity.
Okay, so it seems like a delicate dance. We want drugs that are potent enough to be effective, but also selective enough to avoid hitting too many of those off-target pathways.
Exactly. Achieving that balance can be tricky, especially with drugs that interact with multiple targets. It often requires a lot of trial and error, fine-tuning the drug structure and testing its effects.
It sounds like a highly iterative and collaborative process, really demanding precision and a deep understanding of the drug's interactions.
Absolutely. So collaboration between chemists, biologists, and pharmacologists is absolutely crucial in optimizing this balance. And then another hurdle is understanding and predicting drug-drug interactions.
Oh, yeah. Especially considering that many patients, particularly those with complex diseases, often take multiple medications.
Exactly. And there's always a risk that those drugs could interact with each other in unexpected ways, leading to adverse reactions, reduced efficacy, or even some dangerous complications. It's like mixing different ingredients without really knowing how they're going to react with each other.
Yeah. Careful monitoring and awareness are critical to preventing those unforeseen reactions.
Absolutely. And pharmacists play a really crucial role in managing these drug interactions, carefully reviewing those medication lists and making recommendations to ensure patient safety.
Their expertise in drug pharmacology is vital in this process,
Uh-huh.
especially as those polypharmacological therapies become more common.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another challenge that's unique to polypharmacology is the complexity of clinical trials.
Because we're dealing with drugs that interact with multiple targets, I imagine it can be tricky to design those trials that accurately assess both the efficacy and safety of these new therapies.
Exactly. Those traditional trial designs might not be suitable. So we need to develop new approaches that actually account for the complexity of these drugs and the multiple pathways that they affect.
So how are researchers addressing this particular challenge?
Well, they're exploring innovative clinical trial designs that better assess the efficacy and safety of these polypharmacological therapies. And these designs often involve using biomarkers to track the drug's effects on specific pathways. And this allows for a much more nuanced understanding of its actions.
So it's like having a much more detailed map to navigate the complex terrain of clinical trials, right? Providing those researchers with more precise insights into the drug's performance.
Exactly. And these advancements in clinical trial design are essential for bringing safe and effective polypharmacological therapies to the patients who desperately need them.
Yeah. It's inspiring to see how scientists are tackling these challenges head on, constantly pushing those boundaries to ensure the responsible development of these innovative therapies.
Absolutely. It's an exciting field, but we need to proceed with caution, with scientific rigor, and a real commitment to those ethical principles. But even with all of these challenges, polypharmacology opens up a world of opportunities. And one area where it's already showing potential is in drug repurposing.
Oh, yeah. Drug repurposing, finding those new uses for existing drugs, often for conditions that are completely different from their original purpose. It's like giving those drugs a second chance to shine, uncovering those hidden talents.
That's a great way to put it. And polypharmacology plays a crucial role in this process because it allows us to look at drugs from a completely different perspective, considering their interactions with those multiple targets, not just that primary mechanism of action that they were originally designed for.
Okay, so instead of just focusing on what a drug was initially designed to do, we can actually explore its potential to modulate other pathways that might be relevant to different diseases.
Exactly. And this broader perspective can actually lead to some really surprising and valuable discoveries. Many drugs that were initially developed for one condition have been successfully repurposed to treat other conditions, sometimes with remarkable effectiveness.
It's like realizing that a tool you thought was only good for hammering nails is also great for opening jars. Can you give us some specific examples of drugs that have been repurposed thanks to those polypharmacological insights?
Certainly. One classic example is thalidomide. This was a drug that was initially marketed as a sedative but was withdrawn back in the 1960s after it was discovered to cause severe birth defects.
Oh, wow. That's a tragic story, but I'm hoping there's more to it.
There is. Decades later, scientists discovered that thalidomide has potent anti-inflammatory and anti-angiogenic properties. So that means it can actually suppress the formation of new blood vessels.
Wow. So a drug that was once considered dangerous has been found to have some beneficial effects.
Exactly. And this really unexpected finding actually led to its repurposing for treating multiple myeloma, which is a type of blood cancer, and erythema nodosum leprosum, which is a really painful complication of leprosy.
It's remarkable how scientific understanding can evolve over time, leading to those new applications for existing drugs.
Yeah.
What other examples highlight the potential of drug repurposing?
Another fascinating example is sildenafil, better known as Viagra.
Oh, yeah. Viagra, the little blue pill that became a cultural phenomenon.
Exactly. It was originally developed to treat angina, a type of chest pain. But during those clinical trials, they discovered that sildenafil had a really unexpected side effect. It was improving erectile function.
Yeah, that's a serendipitous discovery that led to a major breakthrough in treating erectile dysfunction.
It really was. And this unexpected finding, initially observed during those trials for angina, propelled sildenafil to blockbuster success. And it's a prime example of how polypharmacology really encourages us to explore those unexpected findings and look at their therapeutic applications.
Yeah, sildenafil's story highlights the importance of remaining open to those unexpected observations and the potential for repurposing drugs for entirely different conditions than they were originally intended for. Are there any other examples that really showcase this principle?
Sure. Another notable example is duloxetine. So this was initially developed as an antidepressant, but was later found to be effective for treating chronic pain conditions like fibromyalgia and diabetic neuropathy.
Okay, so a drug that was designed to address chemical imbalances in the brain can also help manage chronic pain. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And it really demonstrates the potential of looking at these drugs through a different lens and considering their much broader pharmacological effects. And the great thing about drug repurposing is that it offers a much faster and more cost-effective way to actually develop new therapies compared to starting from scratch.
Right, it's like finding those hidden treasures in our existing medicine cabinet, uncovering those new possibilities for treating various conditions.
Exactly. And polypharmacology is a key part of this process because it really encourages us to see beyond a drug's original purpose and explore its broader therapeutic potential.
Drug repurposing is a true testament to the creativity and resourcefulness of the scientific community.
Yeah, it is.
It's inspiring to see how that existing knowledge and those resources can be utilized to address new challenges. But let's move on to another strategy that's really related to polypharmacology combination therapy.
Okay, so combination therapy. The strategy of using two or more drugs together to treat a single condition is really a cornerstone of modern medicine. It's like assembling a team of specialists, each with their unique skills, to tackle a really complex problem.
So how does polypharmacology actually relate to combination therapy?
Well, polypharmacology actually provides a framework for understanding and optimizing those combination therapies. By considering the interactions between those different drugs and their multiple targets, we can design combinations that work synergistically, enhance that overall efficacy, and minimize those unwanted side effects.
It's like a conductor leading an orchestra, ensuring that each instrument is playing its part harmoniously to create a beautiful symphony.
That's a wonderful analogy. And this personalized approach to combination therapy is becoming increasingly important as we aim to develop those more precise and effective treatments.
So can you give us some examples of successful combination therapies that were designed using those principles of polypharmacology?
Certainly. A notable example is the use of combination antiretroviral therapy, or CART, for treating HIV/AIDS.
Oh, yeah.
So CART typically involves a cocktail of three or more drugs that target different stages of the HIV replication cycle. And by doing so, they effectively suppress the virus.
CART has been a game changer in the fight against AIDS,
Uh-huh.
transforming it from a death sentence to a manageable chronic condition.
Exactly. And its success is largely due to its polypharmacological nature because it targets those multiple viral pathways to overcome drug resistance and achieve long-term viral suppression.
It's a powerful example of how a multi-pronged approach can effectively tackle a complex and challenging disease.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other combination therapies have benefited from this approach?
Another great example is the use of combination chemotherapy for cancer treatment. Chemotherapy regimens often involve a mix of drugs that target different aspects of cancer cell growth, and this maximizes the chances of killing those cancer cells while minimizing the damage to those healthy cells.
It's like a team of warriors, each attacking the enemy from different angles, overwhelming its defenses.
Exactly. And polypharmacology helps us understand how those drugs interact with each other and with the cancer cells, which allows us to design more effective and less toxic regimens.
Yeah, combination chemotherapy has undoubtedly played a significant role in improving cancer treatment outcomes.
Uh-huh.
It's encouraging to see how polypharmacology is contributing to these advancements.
It's really a testament to the power of collaboration and a much deeper understanding of those disease mechanisms. Polypharmacology is providing the framework for optimizing these multi-drug regimens, leading to much more targeted and effective treatments.
Yeah, it's clear that combination therapy, guided by those principles of polypharmacology, is a really powerful tool in modern medicine. It's exciting to witness how this approach is shaping the future of healthcare.
Absolutely. It's an area that holds immense promise, and we're really only just beginning to explore its full potential.
Yeah, this has been an incredible journey through the applications and the challenges of polypharmacology.
Ah,
It's evident that this approach is revolutionizing how we think about and treat those diseases, paving the way for a much more personalized and effective healthcare system.
yeah. We've seen how it's tackling those infectious diseases, those autoimmune disorders, metabolic disorders, even the complexities of aging. And while challenges remain, those potential benefits are undeniable.
They are. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'd like to touch upon the ethical considerations surrounding polypharmacology. When we're talking about drugs that can influence multiple pathways in the body, it's really crucial to consider the implications for individual autonomy and even societal values.
You're absolutely right. Ethical considerations are paramount in any scientific endeavor, especially when we're dealing with medicine and new therapies.
So what are some of those key ethical questions that arise in the context of polypharmacology?
Well, one question is about informed consent. When a patient's considering these types of therapies, they need to have a really clear understanding of both the potential benefits and the potential risks, as well as the complexity of the treatment.
Yeah, it's essential that patients are equipped with enough knowledge to make those informed decisions about their health.
Exactly. We need to make sure that they have access to really clear and understandable information about polypharmacology and what it means for them.
Okay, so how can we actually improve informed consent in this context?
Well, developing educational materials that explain polypharmacology in really simple terms is crucial. These materials can be used by healthcare providers to educate their patients and really facilitate those important discussions about treatment options.
It's about bridging that knowledge gap and empowering those patients to actively participate in those healthcare decisions.
Precisely. And another ethical concern is about access and equity. Polypharmacological therapies are likely to be more complex and potentially more expensive than those traditional drugs.
Yeah, that raises the question of whether everyone will have equal access to these new treatments or if they'll only be available to those who can afford them.
And that's a really crucial question that we need to address as a society. Access to healthcare, including these innovative therapies, shouldn't be determined by socioeconomic factors. We need to work towards ensuring that these advancements actually benefit everyone.
It's about striving for a healthcare system that's both innovative and equitable, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from these breakthroughs.
Absolutely. And another concern is about the potential for unintended consequences.
Because we're manipulating multiple pathways in the body, I imagine there's always a risk of those unforeseen side effects, both positive and negative.
Yeah, you're right. It's like conducting a really complex experiment. You might get the desired outcome, but there could also be some unexpected results. And it highlights the need for caution, humility, and continuous monitoring when we're dealing with these complex biological systems.
Okay, so how can we minimize the risk of these unintended consequences?
Well, thorough research and careful monitoring are crucial. We need to really study the effects of these therapies, both in the short term and the long term, to really identify any potential risks and benefits.
It's about being vigilant, gathering data, and really learning from both the successes and the setbacks in this constantly evolving field.
Exactly. And another ethical issue that's on the radar is the potential for enhancement rather than just treatment.
Ah, the age-old debate about using medical advancements to enhance those human capabilities beyond what's considered normal.
Exactly. And this raises questions about what it means to be human, what constitutes a healthy lifespan, and the ethical boundaries of using medicine to enhance cognitive function, athletic performance, or even lifespan.
It's a fascinating, complex debate with implications that extend far beyond just the realm of medicine.
Absolutely. And as we delve deeper into polypharmacology, these ethical conversations will become even more important. We need to have a really open and honest dialogue involving scientists, clinicians, ethicists, policymakers, and the public.
It's about finding the right balance between scientific progress and societal values, ensuring that we use these powerful tools responsibly and for the benefit of all humankind.
Precisely. So as we continue exploring this incredible potential of polypharmacology, those ethical considerations will become even more critical. But for now, let's take a step back and look at the historical context of this approach.
It's always fascinating to trace the roots of those scientific advancements.
Mm-hmm.
So while polypharmacology might seem like a very recent development, does it actually have a history in traditional medicine systems?
Absolutely. The idea of targeting multiple pathways for therapeutic benefit has really deep roots in traditional medicine practices worldwide.
So we're not the first ones to recognize the power of a multi-targeted approach to healing.
Not at all. Many traditional healing practices, like Ayurveda in India and traditional Chinese medicine, have long understood that interconnectedness of the body's systems. And they've used these complex mixtures of herbs and other natural substances to address multiple pathways simultaneously.
It's like a time-tested wisdom passed down through generations of healers and practitioners, offering a wealth of knowledge for modern medicine.
Exactly. And those traditional systems can offer some really valuable insights and inspiration for modern drug discovery.
So can you share some specific examples of polypharmacology in traditional medicine?
Sure. In Ayurveda, for example, a common approach is to use a combination of herbs that address the underlying imbalance in the body's three doshas, or energies Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And these formulations often contain multiple herbs, each with its own unique properties, and they work together synergistically to restore balance.
It's like creating a balanced and harmonious blend to restore the body's natural equilibrium.
Precisely. And traditional Chinese medicine also emphasizes the interconnectedness of the body and often uses those complex herbal formulas to address multiple pathways that are involved in disease. And these formulas are often tailored to the individual patient's needs, incorporating various herbs with specific properties that work together to really promote healing.
It's like a customized approach, recognizing that each individual's health needs are truly unique.
Exactly. And this personalized approach really resonates with modern medicine's increasing focus on individualized healthcare. It's about bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science, really integrating the best of both worlds.
Yeah. This exploration of traditional medicine really highlights the value of learning from those different cultures and approaches to healing. It seems like there's much that we can gain from studying these time-tested practices.
Absolutely. By respecting and integrating that traditional knowledge into our more modern scientific approaches, we can potentially unlock even greater potential in polypharmacology and create truly transformative therapies for everyone.
Yeah. This historical perspective adds another layer of richness to our understanding of polypharmacology. It's inspiring to see how the pursuit of healing transcends time and cultures, connecting us to a shared human experience.
It really is. And as we continue to explore the frontiers of polypharmacology, it's really crucial that we honor this rich history and integrate those time-tested insights into our more modern scientific approaches.
Absolutely. By combining the wisdom of the past with the innovations of the present, we can strive for a much more holistic and effective approach to medicine.
An approach that embraces complexity, harnesses the power of both nature and science, and ultimately empowers individuals to lead much healthier and more fulfilling lives.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now let's delve into a specific example of polypharmacology that's making waves in the world of drug discovery. The use of lovastatin, a fungal metabolite, to lower cholesterol levels.
Ah, yes. Lovastatin. It's a classic example of how nature can inspire innovative drug design.
It's incredible to think that a humble fungus could hold the key to controlling cholesterol, a major risk factor for heart disease.
Yeah. It really is a testament to the power of those natural products as a source of inspiration for drug development.
So tell us a little bit more about how lovastatin works on that molecular level. How does it manage to, selectively target that specific enzyme that's involved in cholesterol synthesis?
Well, lovastatin's structure actually mimics the natural substrate of the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. So essentially, it tricks the enzyme into binding to it instead of its intended target. And this, what we call competitive inhibition, effectively slows down the production of cholesterol in the liver.
Okay, so it's like a molecular decoy,
Uh-huh.
cleverly disrupting that cholesterol production line.
That's a great way to put it. And this targeted approach is really what makes lovastatin so effective at lowering those cholesterol levels without disrupting other essential metabolic pathways.
It's a prime example of how understanding those intricacies of molecular interactions can lead to the development of those highly selective and effective drugs. But before we get too carried away with lovastatin, let's take a step back and remind ourselves of the bigger picture here.
Right, right. It's easy to get caught up in the details of a specific drug, but it's important to remember that lovastatin is just one example of polypharmacology in action.
Exactly. And that's what makes this field so exciting. It's a constantly evolving landscape with new discoveries and applications emerging all the time.
It's a testament to the creativity and the ingenuity of those scientists who are constantly pushing those boundaries of what's possible in drug discovery.
And as our understanding of human biology deepens, we're likely to see even more innovative and effective polypharmacological therapies in the future. But let's dive into another specific example of polypharmacology, one that's a bit closer to home for many of our listeners.
Okay, you're talking about metformin, right? The drug that's commonly used to treat type 2 diabetes.
You got it. It's another fascinating example of how polypharmacology can be used to address a complex metabolic disorder.
Well, metformin's mechanism of action is still not fully understood, but it appears to exert its effects through several different pathways.
So it's kind of like fine-tuning the body's insulin signaling, making it more efficient at managing those blood sugar levels.
Exactly. But metformin's benefits go beyond just insulin sensitivity. It also appears to reduce glucose production in the liver, slow down the absorption of glucose from the intestines, and even enhance the body's ability to use glucose for energy.
Wow, it's like a multi-pronged attack on high blood sugar.
It really is. And this multifaceted approach is what makes metformin so effective at managing type 2 diabetes.
It's a holistic approach that's very consistent with the principles of polypharmacology. But here's something I find particularly intriguing about metformin. Its history. It's actually derived from a plant called French lilac, which has been used for medicinal purposes for centuries.
Ah, yes. The fascinating intersection of traditional medicine and modern drug discovery. It's a reminder that ancient wisdom can sometimes hold valuable clues for developing new therapies.
Exactly. And metformin's story highlights the importance of exploring both natural and synthetic sources for potential polypharmacological drugs.
It's a collaborative effort that's really driving innovation in drug discovery. And as our understanding of human biology continues to expand, we're likely to see even more remarkable polypharmacological therapies emerge, inspired by both nature's wisdom and human ingenuity.
Speaking of human ingenuity, let's delve into another groundbreaking example of polypharmacology in action. The development of ivermectin, a soil-derived agent that's saving lives worldwide.
Yeah, ivermectin is a truly remarkable story. It's a testament to the unexpected places where we can find those therapeutic breakthroughs. Originally developed as an anti-parasitic drug for animals, ivermectin has proven to be remarkably effective against a wide range of parasites, including those that cause river blindness and lymphatic filariasis. Those are two debilitating diseases that affect millions of people in those developing countries.
It's incredible how a drug that was initially intended for animals has had such a profound impact on human health.
It really is a testament to the serendipitous nature of scientific discovery. And ivermectin's success actually earned its developers the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine back in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about how ivermectin works its magic against these parasites. Does it also exert its effects through multiple pathways?
Well, ivermectin's primary mechanism of action involves interfering with the nervous system of those parasites. So it binds to specific ion channels, disrupting the flow of ions across the cell membranes, and ultimately leading to the paralysis and death of the parasites.
So it's like shutting down the parasite's control center, preventing it from functioning properly.
Exactly. And this targeted approach is what makes ivermectin so effective against such a wide range of parasites while having minimal toxicity to humans.
It's another prime example of how understanding those intricacies of molecular interactions can lead to the development of those highly selective and effective drugs.
Precisely. And ivermectin's success has actually inspired further research into its potential applications beyond just parasitic diseases. It's now being investigated for its antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties, which could lead to new treatments for a variety of conditions.
It's fascinating to see how a drug initially developed for one purpose can find new life and new applications through further research and exploration.
Yeah.
And that's what makes polypharmacology so exciting. It's not just about developing new drugs. It's about exploring the full potential of existing drugs and understanding how they can be used in those innovative ways.
Exactly. It's about thinking outside the box and really embracing the complexity of human biology.
And as we continue to explore the intricacies of those biological systems, we're likely to uncover even more remarkable therapeutic possibilities. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of polypharmacology.
We've journeyed through the core principles, ethical considerations, historical context, and even explored some remarkable examples.
Yeah, it's been an eye-opening exploration of how this approach is completely reshaping our understanding of medicine.
And today we're going to shift our focus to this exciting frontier of polypharmacology in drug development, witnessing the theory actually translate into real-world applications.
I'm eager to see how these concepts are being applied to create these innovative treatments. Where should we begin our exploration?
Well, let's start with an area where polypharmacology is showing immense promise in oncology. So that's the study and treatment of cancer.
Okay. Cancer is a complex disease, often involving those intricate networks of signaling pathways and genetic mutations.
Precisely. Traditional chemotherapy drugs often have a really broad effect. They target those rapidly dividing cells, which leads to some pretty significant side effects, because they also harm healthy cells as well.
It's like trying to clear a field of weeds by setting the entire field on fire.
Yeah.
You might get rid of the weeds, but you'll also destroy everything else.
That's a powerful analogy. So polypharmacology offers a much more precise approach. So we're developing these drugs that disrupt the specific pathways that are driving cancer cell growth while sparing those healthy cells.
So it's like using a targeted herbicide that only affects the weeds, leaving the rest of the field untouched.
Exactly. And this targeted approach has the potential to significantly reduce those side effects and actually improve the efficacy, leading to better outcomes for those patients.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you give us some specific examples of how polypharmacology is being applied in cancer drug development?
Sure. One really promising area is the development of drugs that target multiple kinases. So kinases are enzymes that act as switches, they control various cellular processes, and in many cancers, those kinases actually become dysregulated, which fuels that uncontrolled growth.
Okay, so if we can target those rogue kinases, we can potentially disrupt the cancer's, command center.
Precisely. Traditional kinase inhibitors often target a single kinase, but cancer cells are pretty clever. They can develop resistance by activating alternative pathways.
So it's like trying to block a river with a single dam.
Yeah.
The water's just going to find another way to flow.
Exactly. So polypharmacology actually offers a solution by developing drugs that target multiple kinases simultaneously, making it much harder for those cancer cells to actually escape. It's like building multiple dams along the river, effectively controlling the flow.
Okay, yeah. These multikinase inhibitors sound like a game changer in cancer treatment.
Uh-huh.
Are there any specific examples of these drugs that are in development or maybe even already being used?
Yeah, there are actually several multikinase inhibitors that are showing some really promising results in those clinical trials, with some already approved for treating specific types of cancer. One example is sorafenib, which is actually used to treat advanced kidney cancer and liver cancer.
That's encouraging. It's encouraging to see these innovative therapies actually making a real difference in the lives of those cancer patients. It seems like polypharmacology is ushering in a new era of cancer treatment, one that is more targeted, effective, and hopefully less burdensome for those patients.
Absolutely. And as our understanding of cancer biology continues to grow, we can actually expect even more sophisticated and personalized polypharmacological approaches to emerge.
Yeah, this is an area of research that definitely holds immense potential for improving those cancer treatment outcomes. But let's shift our focus now to another major health challenge, cardiovascular disease.
Okay. So cardiovascular disease is a global health concern. It encompasses heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, and a whole range of conditions that affect the heart and those blood vessels. And it's a really complex interplay of risk factors and underlying mechanisms.
Traditional treatments often focus on individual risk factors, like lowering cholesterol or blood pressure. But could polypharmacology offer a more comprehensive strategy?
That's the idea. Polypharmacology actually allows us to target multiple risk factors simultaneously, potentially having a much more preventive and holistic effect.
So instead of just addressing the individual symptoms, we can actually try to tackle those root causes of cardiovascular disease.
Precisely. For instance, researchers are developing drugs that target both inflammation and oxidative stress, which are two really key processes that contribute to atherosclerosis. That's the buildup of plaque in the arteries.
Okay, so it's like addressing both the fire and the fuel that feeds it rather than just trying to extinguish those flames.
Exactly. And these multi-target drugs are showing some real promise in those early studies, offering hope for more effective and preventative treatments for cardiovascular disease.
That's pretty exciting. It's exciting to see how polypharmacology is being applied to tackle this major health challenge. Are there any other areas where this approach is making significant strides?
Sure. Let's explore the realm of neuropsychiatric disorders. So those are those complex conditions like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. Those disorders are notoriously difficult to treat with those traditional single-target drugs because they involve such a complex interplay of genetic, environmental, and neurochemical factors.
Exactly. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube by just twisting one side. You might make some progress, but you'll never actually solve the entire puzzle.
Yeah. Polypharmacology seems like a much more fitting approach, considering the intricate nature of these disorders.
Absolutely. So it allows us to develop drugs that target multiple neurotransmitter systems, different signaling pathways, and even epigenetic modifications. And it offers a much more holistic and effective treatment strategy.
Okay, so it's like addressing those multiple layers of the puzzle simultaneously,
Uh-huh.
increasing those chances of actually finding a solution.
Precisely. And this multi-target approach aims to not only alleviate those symptoms, but also actually modify the course of the disease, potentially leading to long-term remission or even prevention.
Wow, that's a remarkable goal.
Yeah, it is.
Are there any specific examples of those polypharmacological drugs that are in development for neuropsychiatric disorders?
Yeah, researchers are exploring a variety of promising candidates. For instance, some are actually developing drugs that target both glutamate and GABA. Those are two key neurotransmitters that are involved in mood, anxiety, and cognition.
It's like fine-tuning the brain's orchestra,
Mm.
ensuring that the different sections are playing in harmony.
Exactly. And these drugs are showing some really encouraging results in those early studies, offering hope for more effective and personalized treatments for these really challenging conditions.
It's inspiring to see how polypharmacology is pushing those boundaries of what's possible in treating these neuropsychiatric disorders.
Yeah.
This approach holds immense potential for improving the lives of those countless individuals who are struggling with these conditions.
It's truly a transformative approach that's really reshaping the landscape of medicine. And as we continue to unravel the complexities of human biology, we can actually anticipate even more innovative applications of polypharmacology, leading to breakthroughs in a variety of fields.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of polypharmacology. We've explored its principles, applications, challenges, even those ethical considerations, and its historical context. It's clear that this approach is revolutionizing how we understand and treat diseases, and is paving the way for a future of much more personalized and effective medicine.
It's been a fascinating journey, and the beauty of polypharmacology really lies in its recognition of that interconnectedness of our biological systems. It's a testament to the power of scientific curiosity, collaboration, and the pursuit of knowledge to improve human health and well-being.
We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and provided you with some valuable insights into the world of polypharmacology. Remember, this is just the beginning, and as research continues, we can anticipate even more remarkable breakthroughs in the years to come.
Stay curious, explore, ask questions, and be an active participant in your healthcare journey. The future of medicine is unfolding, and polypharmacology is playing a really pivotal role in shaping that future.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating world of polypharmacology with us. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.